Hello everybody, and welcome to the recorded version of the Anki workshop. So they say to start a presentation by appealing to credibility. I've been using Anki for 5 years. I've done 250,000 reviews, 70% of which were in medical school. And reviews are just times that I've flipped a flashcard. What was the result? For NYU exams, the averages were in the 90s, and I was scoring slightly above. When I added the year-old question bank halfway through the year, people score in the 50s. I was scoring 78%. And when I took an NBME practice exam for step 1, and this was only a couple days after finishing preclinical, people score 60 to low pass step 1, and 70 is kind of like comfortably passing. I scored 87 out of the gate, and it gives you a percent chance of passing step 1 in a week, and it was 99%. 2 days later, I took NBME 2 and another practice exam, and I got an 85%, so I did it again, and then I passed step 1 that following Wednesday without really having it dedicated. This can be you if you use Anki. I have a disclaimer. This presentation will be fast, but it's recorded, so you can always come back to it. The other one is that there's going to be varying levels of Anki in the room. And my goal of this presentation is to draw some arbitrary line. And at this line, you're dangerous at Anki. And then I'm going to pull everybody up. So some of this might be review for these masters at the top, but hopefully by the end of this presentation, you can at least have a conversation with the masters if you're the person who's never heard of Anki at all. Okay, so chronic granulomatous disease is a defect in NADPH oxidase. This is a step 1 fact. It's a basic science fact, and it might just show up on your step 1 exam. It's incredibly high yield. I can probably actually guess that half of you will have this on your exam. And if I ask you this information, the answer to this question, right now, 100% of you will get it right. But after a day, it might only be 70%. You might only have a 70% chance of remembering it. And then after 2 days, it's 50%. And by a year, you've probably forgotten it. How do we make it so we don't forget it? How do we make it so we have a 50% chance after a year so that our forgetting curve actually strengthens? Or better yet, we don't forget it at all. So to do this, we're going to repeat the information. And you'd be naive to think that it decays at the same rate to where you forget it after a year. Simply by remembering it, our curve actually looks like this. We remembered it and we've strengthened our forgetting curve. We have a 25% chance of remembering it, or whatever that number is by the end of the year, simply by having reviewed it. Additionally, instead of just reading it, if we make a fill in the blank and really use our brain muscles, then our curve will be even stronger. And so just by seeing the information again and using an active recall method, you will remember it more. You will do less and you'll remember more. And there are studies on this, right? So group A, group B with active recall will remember more for less time spent on the information. And so these are your wheels, right? These are your wheels that'll save your life, and hopefully you're not the person who's doing more work to get to the same end result. Spatial repetition and active recall. And so these things are flashcards, practice questions, teaching somebody else. It's not rereading notes and highlighting text, but there's going to be people all over the country, medical students who insist on highlighting first aid and reading all these PDFs and PDFs and PDFs because it feels productive. But I'll tell you, I know everything on this page, and I've never once opened up this page of first aid. Why? Because I've done the flashcards on it. And it probably took me 1 hour to learn this page or whatever it is, compared to somebody else's 3 by just having highlighting first aid. Besides efficiency, Anki is great for units of information, right? I just told you, I knew everything on that page. And so you'd be walking around this dictionary just like having facts in your head. Fibroadenoma is most common in women under 35. But Anki's not so good at connections. And at the end of the day, if you have flashcards, to make a connection between 2 cards, you're gonna have to create a whole nother card, and that's just a fact. And so let's end the presentation right now. Let's, I wanna be the person who understands everything. I wanna understand. This is the number 1 criticism of Anki, is that I don't wanna just memorize useless information. But at the end of the day, here's an AMBOSS question. You don't have to read it, but look at the answer choices. They're just names of enzymes. And so at the end of the day, for step 1 especially, but even in life, there requires a degree of specificity that might just require memorization. Additionally, connections that you want to form to understand things will fade. You'll forget them. But the facts can stay and allow you to rebuild that information, those connections over time. So there are other strategies to build the connection. At the end of the day, Anki can serve to anchor the facts. It's not mutually exclusive. You can still do practice questions, seminars, teaching others, real-life clinical use. You're just being the most efficient at anchoring down that information. It's a lot easier to use it in real-life clinical use when you at least know the names of the drugs or memorize some kind of piece of information to anchor that connection. Fine. So I'm going to do this active recall. I'm going to repeat it. But when do I repeat it? At the end of the day, if I'm taking step 1 in a year, maybe 2 years, do I just repeat it every single day until my major exam? Well, it turns out because our forgetting curve actually strengthens when we repeat and use active recall, we can repeat it at ever-increasing intervals and still have like a 90% chance of getting that information right. And so with ever-increasing intervals, we can then, while we're doing nothing, right, we're doing nothing right here, we're not reviewing anything, we can slot in another card. And that's how we can efficiently slot in a ton of information and not just have to go through 865 pages of first aid. Or we can have more free time to watch some movies. Additionally, what if I get the card wrong? What if I think the answer is helicase and that's not correct, right? I guessed helicase. Should I have it spaced out at ever-increasing intervals? And the answer is no. My forgetting curve is probably more like this red line. It's probably decayed faster than I wanted it to. I've probably forgotten the information. So really, the more optimal way is to review it sooner. And so the perfect spatial repetition algorithm will take my cards and space them at ever-increasing intervals so that I, am spending the least amount of time getting the most amount of information memorized. It'll take easy cards that I'm getting correct. They're super easy. Maybe I know them from undergrad and space them out even more. And incorrect cards that I'm struggling with, are spaced out shorter. But what about these days? Who sets these days? Why is it 3 days and not 4 days, 14 and not 15? Well, it's the answer of algorithms. And there's a bunch of algorithms that determine, okay, if you have this card and it's this old, and if you get it right, it's going to be 14 days. SM1, SM2, Super Memo 18, FSRS, these are all algorithms. And all they are just different ways to schedule the same cards given a review item, if you got it right, wrong, or easy, and then it just schedules the item. Again, it's just the difference of two different schedules. But you have to do this for every fact. So if I just told you the algorithm and gave you some pen and paper and flashcards, you couldn't do this because for step 1, there's 20,000 facts. And your schedule would look like this. You'd have this whole complicated flow chart. And who will manage this for you? Well, the good thing is we're in the future and we have programs. We have software written. We have a scheduler, right? We have this program called Anki that has a scheduler and tells you these are the cards you must do based off of the SM2 algorithm. And when you see the card, and this is the front of the card and this is the back of the card, and then you press again, good or easy, it'll schedule your next review based off SM2, the optimal next time to do it, as long as you do it the next day, or when it tells you to do it. And we haven't really gone far. This is the SM2 scheduler, and in 1987, we were using the SM1 scheduler, and we had a program just like Anki, made by a Polish, researcher, where you have a front of the card, a back of the card, and you get to rate if you know the answer well from 0 to 5. We haven't gone far because this technology works. And this is the perfect schedule. How was this invented? It was invented in a lab somewhere where we took, the average perfect schedule for the average person and we said, okay, what's the maximum of time that we can space out these cards that they still remember, they still get cards right. The problem is, what if you're Alex Mullen, right? This is for the average person. And Alex Mullen is the Singapore memory champion of the world in 2016. So he can memorize probably anything. He's like some super genius, right? And so he doesn't need to, memorize cards on day 2 like you or me. He can probably get away with super big intervals. The problem is if you're not Alex Mullen, this is me when I was younger, and you wait that long, you're going to get the card wrong because you've literally forgotten it. And then Anki's going to give you a bunch of reviews. It's going to try to pull you up because you've forgotten it, and you're going to do more reviews. You would have been better off just following the original schedule to begin with. So what's the fix? Well, you have to tweak the settings. You have to go into Anki. You have to change the e's, the multipliers, the numbers, every single dial. This is going to take hours. But the good thing is in October of 2023, you can take your unique review history, right? Are you an Alex Mullen or are you, somebody who has a weaker memory? It's going to take your review data. How are you getting questions right, wrong? It's going to put it into a heuristic-based time series prediction model, a logistic regression with 17 parameters. Some may call this AI. And it's going to give you your unique scheduler. It's going to know who you are, how well your memory works. And that is called FSRS, Free Spaced Repetition Scheduler. The central question of FSRS is, am I still getting away with 90% correct? So, for my next review, can I get away with this long of a schedule? Do I still get the card right? Or maybe longer, or longer, or longer? Oh, look at all this free time I have. Okay, I got it wrong. So this is my perfect schedule, right? This much in between cards based on a bunch of other parameters to get 90% chance I get those cards right of all the cards that I do. Okay, what if I want 99% chance, right? What if I want to be a doctor? I don't want to kill patients. I want to get all the information right 100% of the time. What if I want 99% chance that I get this correct? You're going to have to do more work. You're going to have to do more cards. How much more? Probably exponentially more, like 4 times the number of work, right? More cards. You're going to see them instead of every day or every 4 days, you're going to see them every day, and you're not going to have time. And so really at 90% retention, you're getting the most bang for your buck. You're getting a ton more percent from 80% correct to 90% correct. You're not doing that much more work, but at 99%, you're doing a lot more work. Your review burden at the end of the day depends on you, how well your memory works, right? If you get more cards right, you're going to do less cards. And if you get less cards right, you're going to do more. So to illustrate, let's see how good your memory is. So I'm going to do this random text generator, and I'm going to generate 33 random characters. So here we go. Take time to memorize it. Okay, done. In any order, please repeat the letters. And if you think this is like an impossible task, right? Like there's probably some E's in there, some H's. Can you get 90% right? Can you get 30 letters on the board? I'll let you have 3 incorrect letters and how much of each letter there was, like in any order, E, E, H. Okay, so how many flashcards will you need to review this? How many times will you need to review this item? Right? Probably a lot, right? You're gonna have to go back, you're gonna have to group these, count the numbers, make some mnemonic. You're gonna have a lot of flashcards, get them wrong, right? Was there an H or an E or is there 6 E's? It's like, it's noise. What will your FRS think of you? It's gonna think of you as a bad memorizer and give you a bunch of cards all the time, even cards that you kind of know well. Let's study again. Okay. Can we test our recall now? And I should actually have this covered up, but the answer is yeah, it's a lot easier. I can close my eyes and say Helloevery. I just have to memorize 6 units of information and not 33. And additionally, they kind of make sense. So it's easier to memorize this. It's the same, by the way, it's the same letters, right? It's the same letters on both sides. One is just easier to remember. And FSRS will schedule more cards as a whole if you start memorizing stuff like this. You're gonna, it's gonna take more flashcards, more reviews, etc. Versus if you had if you understood the information to begin with, you're gonna schedule less cards. So always, always, always understand the information before you start committing it to memory and start memorizing it, because it's really hard to memorize noise. You can still do it 100%. You can brute force. Memorize the digits of pi. It's just gonna be more, and your FSRS will think you're stupid. Okay. Additionally, if you do Anki when you're tired, if you do it at like midnight, you're going to get more cards wrong. And so as a result, you're going to do more cards as a whole. Or if you're not focused. These are all little things that you can do to optimize your Anki studying. Do it in the morning. Do it when you don't have a lot of things going on. Let's talk logistics. You're going to want to download Anki. Go on Google, click on the website, click on the download button, click on your version, click install, and here you have Anki. To set up Anki, the first thing you want to do is click the sync button up here. That's going to open up this pop-up, and you're going to hit sign up for an account. This will take you to the Anki website, and then you'll be able to connect to Anki and upload a copy, like save a copy like to the cloud of your Anki, all your reviews, and kind of save your work. And then you can download them on your phone and then kind of communicate to each other so that you can do reviews on the go. People might make fun of you while you're walking to class and doing Anki reviews, but you are efficient. The next thing you want to do is enable FSRS. Remember, that's the AI algorithm that gives you your unique scheduler. To do that, open up Anki and click a gear on any one of your decks. And then we're going to hit options. Click the gear and click options. Okay, this opens up the options for that deck. We're going to scroll down until we find FSRS. And what are we going to do? We're just going to turn it on. Okay, excellent. We're going to stop here. If you want to change your retention and do a bunch more work, this is where you do it. Additionally, you have this button to optimize current presets. This is the button you press to retrain your FSRS algorithm, retrain the magical AI, and you only want to do this when you have new data. So I do this monthly when I get a couple, 1,000 more reviews, but really the algorithm you get out of the box is good enough. Okay, you're just perfecting it over time, so don't stress about having all the training data or not having it at day 0, okay? After about a month, you're gonna have a pretty good algorithm that's pretty adaptable to you. And then we're gonna scroll back up and we're gonna hit save. Excellent. Okay, bonus step, Anki is ready to use, but we need to have an add-on. So let's click tools and hit add-ons. And that's going to open up a pop-up that we're going to press get add-ons, okay? And when we get add-ons, it's going to ask for a code. And that code is going to be this one. You're going to type in this code, and every add-on has a code. You can search them up on Reddit. There's add-on pages. If you just search up the add-on you want, copy this code and paste it in. When you hit OK, it's going to install it. And now, boom, we have the heat map add-on after we restarted Anki. And it's going to tell you when you did your reviews, and it's going to look all pretty. And your classmates will judge you based on if you're doing reviews or not. And this is my heat map. I missed a day on November 30th, and I was very sad. Okay, let's talk about the Anki cycle. How do I actually use Anki? This is not recycling, this is the Anki cycle. First, I'm gonna learn new material. Again, this is the stuff you've been doing your whole life. You go to a lecture, you learn new material, then you're gonna create new cards, right? Flashcards, this is like you going home and writing down flashcards how you did in elementary school. Those new cards are not in any algorithm. They're just sitting there on the shelf ready for you to use. They're locked away until they become learning cards, until you take your flashcards that you've created and you kind of study them that night that you've created them or the night before the test or whatever that is, right? And that's when you really kind of start committing them to memory. This is your hardest working step, right? And you're going to do this twice because Anki says, to graduate a card into the algorithm, you have to do the card twice, get it correct twice. And it likes to space them out, all right? So if you just do a card back to back, 30 seconds apart, that's short-term memory. But if you wait at least 15 minutes, then you get it right twice, right once and twice, that'll graduate the card. And if you stop there, that's Quizlet, right? That is just Quizlet. That is just you using pen and paper flashcards. But to actually use the power of Anki, FSRS, scheduling it using AI and all these fancy words, and getting these due cards, you got to do your daily reviews, and FSRS will schedule it, and that's taking a step forward. That's using Anki. If you want to make it not 15 minutes, obviously I don't think 30 seconds is smart because then it's short-term memory, but what if you want to make it 5 minutes or 10 minutes? Go into your settings, change new card learning steps, the second number from 15 to 10 or to 5, or Alan has it set to 1 day. So he has to get a card right once, and then again, and only then does it pipe into his FSRS algorithm. Okay, I like analogies. Learning new material is like buying seeds. You can lose the seeds, right? The seeds are not there. They'll fly away in the wind. There's nothing concrete there. Creating new cards and learning cards, this is when you're actually planting the seeds. This is when you're doing the work. This is when you actually start understanding the information. And guess what? You can still, it's like you can probably pass a test on planting the seeds, but watering them daily, that'll give you the harvest. That'll give you the farm. And it's not that much more work. Once you've planted the seeds, just watering them daily, this is actually the easy part of Anki. The hardest part of Anki is doing new cards, okay? It's just like, it takes way longer. You're not comfortable with the information. Your brain hates it. This is when you do the heavy lifting, and this is when you basically get the harvest. When you do new cards, they become learning cards. Learning cards become due cards, right? Scheduled in your FSRS algorithm. This is important because the more new cards you do, the more reviews you have in the short term. If you went through 745 new neuroanatomy cards in 1 day, expect the rest of your month to be incredibly, incredibly painful. A bunch of new cards, a bunch of learning cards, a bunch of due cards. And if you kill the plants, you give up on Anki, and you kill the plants that you have grown over the year, that's foolish. Don't sacrifice your daily reviews in the name of doing a bunch of new cards, so then later down the line you burn out from Anki. Follow the old proverb, only plant as many seeds as you can water. Okay, this is how many new cards I did. The blue are the new cards, and this is July through May, so my med school career. And at the start of NYU, I was doing no blue cards, right? No new cards. And then I did about 150 to 300 cards per day. And look, my green kind of went up, it went down. I took a break. I didn't do any new cards here. And then for neuroanatomy, I did a ton of new cards. And this was probably a little bit too much, and this was my last day before STEP. At the end of the day, this number is determined by you. If you can pull off doing 300 new cards per day, you're going to get through a lot of cards pretty quickly. But if you can't, you'll probably burn out and stop doing Anki probably in October and say you hate it. But do 50, do 20. You don't have to do that many cards. At the end of the day, that is cards that you've put away forever, that you have a 90% chance of remembering that information. Use Anki as a tool to remember stuff forever. Okay, let's go back here. Let's learn some new material, create cards, learn cards, and then review them daily. How do we learn new material? Okay, well, you go to lecture, right? Lecture is comprehensive. It takes a long, long time. Covers 100% NYU content, probably about 75% of STEP content. Or you can watch Boards and Beyond. Boards and Beyond is a paid kind of lecture style in front of a PowerPoint where Dr. Ryan comes up and tells you all about the heart. And it's comprehensive. It covers physiology and it covers pathology, but it's 10 to 20 minutes. And it covers 75% of the NYU content. So for like 6 times less time, right? 6 times the less time, you're getting 75% of the content. You're being way more efficient by doing this, and you're hitting 2 birds with one stone because you're covering 100% of the STEP content. The same thing can be said about Pathoma, except for Pathoma is pathology content, super short, NYU again, and STEP. But it's just a different guy. It's just a different voice. It's just a slightly different style. At the end of the day, pick the one you like and move on. For pathology content only, remember that NYU, it's an integrated, preclinical 1-year curriculum. It's very fast. You're going to do pathology and physiology in the same day. It really doesn't matter if you use Pathoma or Boards and Beyond. Osmosis is great too. It's comprehensive. The animations are much more like nice and engaging. It's pretty short, and it covers 80% of NYU stuff because it's so comprehensive. The problem is it's super low yield for STEP. Okay, they kind of get into the weeds a little bit. They don't cover all the high yield topics, and they do a good job explaining things, which is not always the most high yield for the boards. It's not the most efficient thing, but I use this as a third line resource, right, to kind of just brush up on things that I didn't understand in the first 2 ones. Sketchy is a great resource. So they'll draw these pictures and see this prince they drew having a life jacket, a life vest. Well, that means pulmonary edema. And so I will remember this prince standing on this ledge wearing the life jacket. It's just like our brain is so good at memorizing pictures and kind of spatial relationships. So Sketchy is great for memorizing like anything, right? It's very good for memorization content. So pharmacology and microbiology. It's very short. It covers 85% NYU content just because there's a lot of memorization in micro and pharm, and it just does so well with it. And then it covers 100% of STEP content. And so it's the same kind of video because at the end of the day, they all come from First Aid. First Aid is the prep book that Step 1 it's based on Step 1, but all these resources are based on this. So if you do a heart failure video from Boards and Beyond or Pathoma or Sketchy, they're all going to be just a slightly different style, but they're going to cover the same stuff. They're interchangeable. Okay, we've learned the new material. Let's create some new cards. So creating a new card, it's like how you did back in grade school, writing on the front and the back of the flashcard. But first, let's create a folder. Let's create a deck where those cards will live. I don't like this default deck. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this add button up here, and it's going to show this pop-up. When I show this pop-up, I'm going to click this deck button, and it's going to change it from default to, oh wait, I don't have any other decks. So let's click this add button down here. And after that, I'm going to type in my NYU deck, and I'm going to hit OK. All right, so now I've closed it, and now I have my NYU deck. So now I'm going to create some cards. A front and back card, right? This is the flashcards you did in grade school. How do we do this in Anki? Well, all we do is we hit this add button, and we're going to stop here. The card type is what ensures that this is going to be a front and back card. Again, the same way we had with the index card, so that's good. And let's just type in the information out. So in the front, I'm going to put in the front of the card, and in the back, it's going to be the back of the card. And when I hit add, I now have that flashcard in my library ready to go. Right here, it's not in my algorithm. It's just ready for me to use. What if I want to rip stuff straight from the slides? I want to be super quick. I just want to copy and paste stuff from the slides. I want to remember transmembrane adhesion, etc. Well, I just copy the text into Anki. I hit add, and I add it. Okay. I'm going to change the type from basic to closed deletion. So if I want to highlight this and make this fill in the blank, I'm going to change this to closed deletions. Okay. And so when I change to closed deletions, I have these new buttons that let me make that fill in the blank. So I highlight it and I hit this button, I highlight it and hit this button, and what you get are these screens, right? So I highlighted and hit that button, and so now I have this little wrapper around everything that I want to fill in the blank. And when I actually study the cards, it shows me that it's highlighted and says, hey, what protein is this? What, number 2, what is this? And number 3, what is this? So fill in the blanks, and I made this really quick. What if I want to do diagrams? To do diagrams, just screenshot the image, select it, screenshot it, bring it into Anki, and switch the type to image occlusion. So hit add, all right, change the type to image occlusion, hit choose, and then from there, it's really easy. Just hit paste image from clipboard and draw rectangles over what you want to cover up. And now you've just created 3 flashcards in 10 seconds, super efficient. You can see how this is easy from a PowerPoint or from a question bank where they give you a diagram as part of an explanation. And so what you get is 3 different images that all have 3 different blanks that it wants you to answer. So we can create cards really fast, but wouldn't it be nice if we did it even faster by just finding new cards, right? Stealing somebody else's cards and breaking this down into a much shorter interval and filling that with free time to catch up on movies? There are many cards already created for you. You don't have to do the work already. NYU has pre-made Anki decks, the internet has many decks for step 1, and classmates will make their own custom decks that you can steal from that they'll share with you. And remember that there is a super deck that is composed of all these internet step 1 decks into one deck called the AnKing deck. More on that later. If you want the highest possible score in an NYU exam, do the NYU pre-made Anki decks. If you want to never forget step 1 content, do this AnKing super deck. And then if you want to cover any gaps, make your own or use classmate decks. So how do we actually get these decks? Well, first, find the deck. Okay, somewhere there's going to be posting of a file, and then download that file. So I found this file on Brightspace. Currently, they're all organized by lecture. And I'm going to click on the lecture file, and I'm going to click download. All right, perfect. And so after I have it downloaded, I'm just going to click on it, and then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click this import button, and then boom, I've just imported 22 new notes. And when I open up my Anki, look, I have 17 new cards, 22 notes. I don't think this is the same picture, but that are in my Anki, or maybe 5 didn't import. But look, they imported into the wrong deck. They imported in the default folder. I hate that. I need to change the deck. How do I do that? I click on my deck and then I hit browse. I click on the deck and I hit browse. Okay, excellent. That's going to open up all the cards that are in that deck. And then I'm going to select all the cards. I'm going to select them. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit change deck. And there you go. I'm going to change it to NYU deck, hit move cards. And now when I close this out and hit decks, they're going to be all in my NYU deck. Sorry, that cut off. So it's the same algorithm for every single import you do. You get the file. Okay, it's the Brightspace lecture file. You get Fiona's custom anatomy deck through the email. And you get AnKing through Reddit or Google Drive. They're posted everywhere. Okay, how do I share my deck? If I'm Fiona, how do I share my deck with others like me? So what you're going to do is you're going to hit this gear icon and you're going to hit export. Okay, so gear icon, export. And when you hit export, you're going to export all your cards, and it's going to turn it into this file, and then you're just going to email it to people. This is Fiona emailing me a card on October 9th. let's talk AnKing. AnKing and beyond. This is the meat and potatoes of the presentation. To understand AnKing, you need history. So in 2017, there's this man named Anki, man or woman, I'm not sure, it was a medical student. And they were studying for step 1. And so for step 1, they were studying using Pathoma, right, that video with the lectures, and they love first aid. And they made 20,000 flashcards from this. And in 2018, Lolana Comp, another medical student, was watching Boards and Beyond, and they made 5,000 cards with it. And then came around this man named Tyler. And Tyler took these cards and actually compiled them into one super deck, right? So there's now all these cards in one single deck that you can download, right? If you have the file, you just download it and import it. It has 42,000 cards in it. So if you're using these resources, why go back? Why make, your own deck of first aid? It's already been turned into a deck. It's already been made of flashcards. So all you have to do to import it is to download the file and click import. All right? But wait, I read something about the Anki Hub. At the end of the day, when I type in AnKing on Google, it comes up with Anki Hub as like one of the first searches. What is Anki Hub? Well, back in the day, we had Word documents, and Bob would send his Word document to Way to Lucy, Lucy to Bob. They'd make their changes, but now we have real-time collaboration using Google Docs. Now there's only one document that everybody just edits the same document. We still use the old version for Anki. But there is this new technology on the block that has real-time collaboration for Anki, and this is called Anki Hub. The problem is you have to pay $6 a month per user to make edits on these decks. But if you still want to use it, you can download a deck or create a deck. You can download the Anki Hub add-on. Remember, every add-on has a code. Just find the code and put it in. You create an Anki Hub account by going to ankihub.net, and then on that same website, you subscribe to the AnKing deck or whatever deck is being made changes, and then you get daily AnKing updates. Do you really need daily AnKing updates for a deck that has 40,000 cards? The answer is no, you don't. I mean, the stuff doesn't change that much. They keep uploading new pictures and changing, maybe like a guideline from, this dosage to that dosage. But in the grand scheme of things, to pass step, you can just get it once, update it, and unsubscribe. Only do this if you want the updates. So to import AnKing, again, find the file on Google Drive or something else, double click on it and hit import. And it's going to start gathering the data. It's going to take a long time because at the end of the day, this is really like a big thing, right? It's a big file. And it's going to say media files. What are these media files? Well, here are the media files, right? So when I have a question, right, this is my question, and then it's a fill in the blank. So when I get the answer, with the answers came these two buttons, First Aid and Sketchy. And what media is that I click on these buttons and it shows me a screenshot of First Aid. Isn't that helpful? I don't have to dig through my book and find, where is the page on thioamides? I can just have a screenshot of this. But this is illegal, right? This is distributing copywritten material that you don't own. And if you don't own First Aid, you shouldn't have screenshots of it. So that's illegal. But remember, there's copies floating around on the internet. That's what people are talking about when they say it's a AnKing with media. And the Anki Hub does not have the media because the Anki Hub is now a paid service. It's legit. So the import's complete. I have all these thousands of notes, and I look at it, and I'm like, wait a minute. Only 20 pharmacology cards in this, deck. Remember, this is a super deck. And these are all the subdecks in it. Only 20 cards in there, and the answer is no. Anki is keeping those cards from us. It doesn't want us to burn out. It says, you can only do 20 new cards a day, so I'm only going to say 20 new cards are on your shelf. But we don't want that. We want to release these cards. So we're going to hit Options, open up the same settings, and in the preset, we're going to say 999999 and hit Save. Okay, and what that did was release all the cards for us from AnKing. And by releasing the cards, we now have, 4,000 pharmacology cards. Let's start doing them, right? First day of medical school, let's do it. No, let's be a little bit more targeted. Let's study the vitamins. But the problem is there's no specificity. What if you're studying fat-soluble vitamins instead of water-soluble vitamins? You can't just start, I'm just going to do all the 300 cards on vitamins. 300 maybe you can get through. Can you get through the 993 pathology cards? Probably not. We are disorganized. We have to file our cards away so that we can pull them out individually. To do that, we're going to suspend the cards. To suspend the cards, we have our AnKing up, and we're going to hit Browse. So we're going to hit Browse, and we're going to select the AnKing deck on the side. Okay, so we're in the card library. We're going to select the AnKing deck on the side. Then we're going to Control A. It's going to take a couple of seconds. Control A to select all the cards, right-click, and hit Toggle Suspend. Right-click, Toggle Suspend. Okay, good job. I did it, and all my cards just turned yellow. And by doing that, when I close out AnKing, look, no more new cards, no more cards on my shelf ready for me to do. And you're like, Martin, I just spent all this time, 2.8 gigabytes. You just deleted all my cards. Why did you do that? I didn't do that. I filed them away. By turning your cards yellow, they are now in a file, and you can selectively pull them out. So AnKing, remember, is composed of multiple decks. Those decks have cards, and now we've suspended them. And what we can do is we can selectively select a few cards and hit unsuspend to unsuspend them. And so only those unsuspended cards will exist on our new shelf, ready for us to do, and this would be akin to us pulling out flashcards from a filing cabinet. What's an actual workflow? So if I watch a Boards and Beyond video, right, maybe in preparation for a lecture, maybe as a substitute for the lecture, and I want to solidify that information. Because remember, if you just watch this video, it'll disappear, virtually disappear in 2 days, and then by the year, I promise you will remember none of it. Okay, there's so much information in med school, it's just ridiculous. What do? I watch the video, I unfile the cards for that video. That's all I do, right? So what do, I watch the video, I hit browse, and then I go to the tags. Okay, so on the side in my browser, I have these tags. And I'm gonna open it up until I find the Boards and Beyond video, and it's actually organized very well. Go Boards and Beyond, click on whatever chapter you're watching, and then click on whatever section, and then the video, and then look, we have cardiology, arrhythmias, and bundle branch blocks. And there's the video. I've selected it, and now I have 26 cards. What do I do again? They're yellow, I wanna turn them gray, so I hit select all, and then right click and unsuspend them. And now those cards, those 29 cards are ready for me to do just those cards just for that video. So I watch a video that has an overlap with those cards, and then I unsuspend the Boards and Beyond video bundle branch blocks. Very easy. What if I didn't watch Boards and Beyond? What if I watched Pathoma? Remember, these are all virtually the same resource. They're from First Aid. They're using actually the same cards under the hood. They point to the exact same cards. So it's not like those cards are for that video. It's those cards are for bundle branch block cards, and they point to the same video. But what if I watch Dr. Webster's in-house custom, he's great. Can I unsuspend those same cards? And the answer is it depends. Those cards will have variable overlap. Sometimes there's a lot of overlap between NYU cards and third-party cards. NYU lectures and third-party cards. Other times, there's a huge disconnect. And when you learn the NYU information and you start doing the cards, it literally looks like random noise. Can you memorize it still? 100%. Will it be on step? 100%. But are you going to spend a lot of time memorizing it because you never understood it to begin with? 100% as well. And so this is kind of the distribution. There are some lectures that have zero overlap with third parties. I mean, these are just kind of like very custom lectures at NYU, probably like 3, 4, or 5. There's some that feel like they've just been plagiarized from the third party. They have such great overlap, and you're very happy when they do. Most lectures are about 75% overlap. At the end of the day, you can find the closest tag, right? Okay, I'm doing arrhythmia, so I'm going to find the Boards and Beyond arrhythmia video and unsuspend that. Or I can just stick with NYU decks. Or I can search for keywords. YouTube loves, we're just going to search for the keywords. I'm going to search up arrhythmia. But look, 460 results for arrhythmia. This is way too many cards. So instead, I'm going to validate each card. I'm going to go one step further. I'm going to go through these cards because clearly 460 cards, this is not all the stuff that we covered in the lecture. It's too many. And I'm going to click through. If you look here, if you click on a card, it'll show you a card preview. And this card preview is something that you can click on and see what's in the card. And so by clicking through the card, see all the previews change, I can be like, oh yeah, this is actually the cards that I want. These are the cards that we covered. And so instead of unsuspending 460, I only unsuspend the cards that I wanted, ready for me to do. And so I can add in an extra step for this. So I can find the closest tag, and I can find the keywords, but then I can go through each card individually, validate them manually, and selectively unsuspend. However, this is like work. So why not just watch the 10 to 20 minute video, and it's going to kind of give you a basis of understanding of what those cards are. You can do it together with this and just unsuspend all the cards for the video. At the end of the day though, what tags correspond to the NYU video, right? We're following an NYU curriculum here. We don't want to fail these exams. And what Boards and Beyond video actually corresponds with this if I want to watch this? Wouldn't it be helpful if there's a map between the lecture and third-party resources? Well, there is. And it's in the form of a spreadsheet. It's in the form of a G sheet. And so what you have here is the day, the name of the lecture, and the in-house deck that corresponds with it. Okay, so far so good. And then we have this nonsense. What is going on here? Well, let's slow down. Let's see, do we recognize anything? B&B, Boards and Beyond. Oh, so this is the Boards and Beyond. What is this, right? This is just random text. Well, let's slow it down again. AnKing Step 1 V12, Boards and Beyond, Genetics, Concept. Oh, this is just the tag tree. This just tells me where to find this card and set of cards in the tag tree, right? And this is just saying that here, find the Hardy Equilibrium video and find the Pedigree video and get those cards. And so really what this is saying, well, let's go one step back. Why didn't we just, we're smart medical students. Why don't we just say, oh, it's chapter 4, Boards and Beyond? Why do we have to complicate things with making all this like weird text? The reason why is we can take that text, we can scroll over, we can copy it. All right, so just copying that text that I showed you. And if we paste it into the browser, we don't even have to click. We don't have to go. When we press enter, it just shows us all the cards that are for those 2 videos. So you watch those videos, copy that, paste it in, unsuspend, you're done. You have those cards in there, very quick, very efficient. So really, this is just saying, oh, here are the 101 first aid cards, here are the 33 Boards and Beyond cards, and here are the 96 sketchy cards. And all combined, if you want to do all 3 sets of cards, it's 147 cards. Wait a minute, these don't add up. But remember, all of these cards kind of overlap and share cards, so there might be some sketchy cards that are using Boards and Beyond cards that have some first aid cards, and then there's all the cards here. Is 33 enough, though? This is kind of low. Well, over the course of the year, it's about to be 21,000 cards, and this is more than enough to pass STEP. This was when STEP was scored. To pass STEP, this is like you're getting that 87%. You don't need to get it. You have so much insurance, it's not even funny. And if you want to break this down, you have about 20 NYU exams, so that's about 1,000 new cards per exam, and I would say that's pretty valid. So after 2 exams, you'll probably have 2,000 cards unsuspended. By the end of the year, you'll probably have about 20,000 cards unsuspended. Let's talk about another tag. Say we searched up penicillin, and remember, there's way too many results. There's 290 here. But if I add this line of text to it, this high yield tag to it at the end of my search, it now goes down 22 cards. It turns out that they've tagged AnKing with high yield cards. 8,766 cards are high yield. And in STEP world, high yield cards are just like, they're guaranteed. This is like, you will see this, every other question will be a high yield card. 75% of the test is high yield. It's a very simple test, okay? It's designed to pass. Okay. Amboss also uses tags. So if I get a question right or wrong, and I want to get the Anki cards for it, I finish the question, I scroll back up, and I hit this Get Anki Cards button. Then I hit Copy Anki Query, and it gives me tags. So what do? I go back to my browser, and I paste it into the browser. And when I press Enter, it gives me all the cards related to that from AnKing. I don't have to create them. I don't have to find them. Amboss is telling me where they are, and I just have to paste them and unsuspend them if I want to do them. Let's talk add-ons. Add-ons are very simple. Okay, so this is image occlusion enhanced. This is image occlusion like we did it, and this is what it turns into. So it's just a more powerful version. This is your browser right now, and this is what it turns into if you use the advanced browser add-on. The code is right here. It's powerful new fields, but it's probably not necessary. Colorful tags takes your tags and makes them colorful so you can find them easier. The Amboss add-on is pretty cool. You can hover over text in your cards and it'll tell you like an Amboss description of it, so it's pretty helpful if you're confused. And then it'll actually also detect the cards you did and give you a custom Amboss question set for those cards. So you can kind of do targeted studying if you don't want to like peruse through the entire Amboss question library. UWorld has a similar incorrect card thing, except for you need a different add-on called UWorld Incorrect Cards. And so you hit Tools, Find Cards. It's going to ask for question IDs. Where do you get those? Back from your UWorld website. When you hit Question List on the review screen, it's going to give you some numbers. You take those numbers, paste them in, and then boom, it's going to open up your browser and find the 36 cards that are associated with that review. A little bit less seamless like Amboss, but it's still there. Life drain, look at this bar down at the bottom. I'm losing life if I'm taking a long time. It like turns it into a game. And then look, I have audio visual feedback. So when I get the card right, it pops up green and I am a happy monkey. Okay. Anki remote, what is that? There's 8-bit duo, a little mini remote that you can control Anki with your remote if you don't want to press the space bar, and it lets you control Anki, so you can be a happy Anki family gaming and playing Anki. You don't need add-ons, right? Add-ons are these kind of extra things. They're like the color for Nike shoe. These are good enough. The more important thing is to go out and run and to do your runs every day and build a cardiovascular base. The shoe is the extra 0.5% to make the experience more enjoyable and more fashionable, like your heat map. At the end of the day, you don't even need Anki. You can do your 500 daily reviews, watch Boards and Beyond, unsuspend the cards and learn, attend the lecture in person, create custom reviews to like custom cards to do reviews, or you can just, you did all this work with Boards and Beyond and unsuspend. You can probably just watch the lecture at 3 times speed and find gaps, or you can just flip through the PowerPoints only and not even watch the lecture. It's even faster. You can unsuspend only high yield cards using that high yield tag that I showed you, or you can attend the lecture, take notes, review, study the PowerPoint before the exam. You can watch the lecture here and there, and you can blitz through the PowerPoint 2 days before. At the end of the day, you will all pass NYU exams. You guys are incredibly brilliant students, and the exams are not that hard. The passing threshold is you did the work, you get the pass. They're designed to pass. But if you do it this way, you don't do it dedicated for STEP, you don't do it dedicated, you can do it all in 1 year. You might have some review if you're only flipping through PowerPoints and you're just kind of like doing high yields only, and maybe some review if you kind of do a variation of these. if you do like the kind of regular, you'll have a regular dedicated period, right? The regular study method, the old school study method, you're gonna have a normal dedicated. And you're probably gonna have a heavy dedicated if you're just watching lectures and blitzing through PowerPoints, because I promise you will have forgotten all of it. I picked the first one. Okay, I picked this, like, I'm gonna do the reviews the day before, and I'm gonna prep for the exam, and like I'm gonna, I was doing Boards and Beyond new cards for the next day, like in the evenings, right? Even like as late at 9 p.m. But I wouldn't study on the weekends, right? Because I just do Test Yourself or Amboss. Like I would do my morning reviews, but I had that information. It was locked in. The seeds were planted, and I didn't have to study for STEP because I was just watering my plants over time. What was the outcome? Well, I passed all NYU exams. I had no dedicated, and I passed Step 1. And these were my new cards, right? And I said these were sustainable, but over time, I kind of lost the love for learning the new material. I was a chemistry and physics major. I loved learning. I started feeling a little bit restless all the time. I was looking over my shoulder. I wasn't feeling great. The psychiatrist might call this anxiety. And this was my blood pressure in the month of May. It just kept creeping up, and I kept getting more and more stressed. And I thought when I passed Step 1, all my relationships, like the people that I put aside, they'll go back to normal and I'll feel better. But when I passed Step 1, the next day, I didn't feel any different. And so just remember that everything in life has a price. And with that, the PowerPoint is over. The presentation is over. Take time to look over these statistics, see how different people are using Anki at NYU. Some people might use AnKing more. Some people might use less. See how many new cards they're doing. Email us if you have any questions. And thank you so much for joining us on this Anki workshop.